Gold prices are now back up after taking a breather following the win from President-elect Trump. Many thinking, well, now that there's euphoria back in the markets, maybe now is not the time I should be buying gold. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you track history, it will prove time and time again that the longer you wait, the more you will generally pay for your gold. So that's why I urge you all to reach out to one of my colleagues at ITM Trading via a Calendly link. You can find that below in video, and they will walk you through all the fundamentals and the main pillars, the reasons you should be owning gold today. Do it now. Hi, this is Daniela Cambone. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Daniela Cambone Show. And joining me today, post-Thanksgiving long weekend, Todd Bubba Horwitz. Bubba, so good to see you. Happy Cyber Monday.
What's up, Danny? How you doing? Great to be back with you as usual.
Did I interrupt your Cyber Monday shopping?
My Cyber Monday shopping is every day. I'm always shopping because every day is Cyber Day now. We have so many ads out there. Every day there's something to buy.
You're right. You're right. Well, you know, here I was thinking like it might be a slow news weekend. Nope, not at all. So I couldn't wait to go over some of these headlines with you. And of course, we're going to talk metals and what's happening in the markets. But let's start with President-elect Donald Trump's latest message to the BRICS nations. On Saturday, he demanded that BRICS member countries commit to not creating a new currency or supporting another currency that would replace the US dollar, saying they would otherwise face 100% tariffs. And just this morning, the Kremlin now responding to this, saying this attempt is going to backfire if he threatens these tariffs on the BRICS countries who are looking to create their own currency. Your thoughts on this? First, President-elect Donald Trump's move here, and will the U.S. be successful?
I think they will. I think that we've heard for years that the dollar was no longer going to be the reserve currency, and every time it comes up, we end up being the reserve currency because we're the one country in the world that is totally self-sufficient, that don't need supplies from anybody else. So he can get away with it, and I think he will. I think he will get them to back down. He is showing and flexing the muscle of the United States of America, and I think that he will be successful with it because at the end of the day, they need us. We don't need them. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, we have the biggest supplies of not only oil and natural gas and other things, but again, we have the ability to be an island. And if we didn't want to do business with any other nation or any other country in the world, we wouldn't have to, because we could certainly survive and probably prosper more if we weren't involved with all these other globalized issues that we're dealing with. So again, I think he will get away with it. I think it is something that can be done. Now, again, remember that his secretary or the finance guy now wants to get more back into gold. So that's another big issue that brings his idea more to the forefront, because again, if we somehow go back to a gold standard, which would be wonderful, then we would see something that would be much more important as well. So I think that he can get away with it, and I think he will, to answer the question.
Okay. Well, we already see how his pressure tactics have already started working. You know, when he came out saying tariffs will be imposed on Mexico and Canada, we saw Prime Minister Justin Trudeau flying down rather quickly to Mar-a-Lago to obviously deal with this. But let me challenge what you said about the U.S. operating as an island, okay? Because as of now, there's 34 looking to apply. So how do you sanction off, Bubba, the entire non-G7 world that holds the world's wealth in minerals? Can you? I mean, you're saying you can, but...
Well, I think the only thing that we are lacking of is some of the rare earth materials that you mentioned, moly and other things like that. But we have a very intelligent and smart bunch of scientists and things that we could create artificial methods of those things. And again, I would not be afraid of what President Trump is doing. I think it is better for the U.S. And I think that what's going to happen is that they're going to realize that it goes back to they need us, they need our money, they need our supplies, they need our business a lot more than we need them. So again, I think you go back down to a question of economics. They can all do as they want, but every one of them does business with the United States of America and uses our goods and services and of course our technology. So at the end of the day, I think that it's not really a problem, and I think we're going to see that this will fail as many attempts to take the dollar's reserve currency status away.
Okay, one more point on this before we move on to the next talking point. What I found interesting is that, I've had many experts on the show discounting the power of the BRICS, saying it's never going to happen. They're never going to get a common currency. There's no way. So I actually feel this finally shows and gives power to the BRICS that, maybe they are a serious threat. And the US is finally starting to see that. What do you think about that?
Again, I don't think that they are a serious threat. I think, one thing when you start to get different nations together, they've got to agree on a lot more than just the currencies type. There's a lot of issues there. We're far from that becoming a reality. I think there's a greater reality that Bitcoin becomes a currency among the globe versus the BRICS nations and what they're trying to do.
Okay, one more political point before we talk metals and markets here. I know you're going to have something to say about President Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden. He's been heavily criticized by Democrats and obviously Republicans for this move because, as you know, Bubba, he had said from the start, like, the law is above no one. He was not pardoning Hunter. Now he is. What do you make of the timing and the significance of this?
Well, I mean, the first question is anybody really surprised that he pardoned his son? There was no doubt in my mind he was going to pardon. Know what he said. First of all, President Biden has been a liar for 50 years in office. Okay. He has never once told the truth. He has also been a racist for 50 years in office. How he ever got elected is a story for the ages, because again, he hates everybody and he doesn't want to do it for anybody, but he does want to take care of his own. How else do you explain that a couple of Jill and Joe Biden had made $6 million in their working careers and are worth over $150 million? So there was no doubt he was going to pardon his son. And I think it was probably somebody else pushing, because I don't think he knows where he's at right now. I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, his illness is really dramatic as well. And I'm sure that was a plan all along, that he was going to pardon his son. That his BS speech about nobody's above the law applies to everybody but him and his family, because we have seen that what the family has done in office, not only as a president, but as a senator and other parts of his administrations over the years. There's always been a dark cloud around what Biden has done. So to me, not a surprise whatsoever.
Let's talk metals now, Bubba, because post-election, I mean, gold and silver struggling. I mean, look, we're still above 2,600 on gold, but that rally has subdued a bit here. What are you seeing on the gold front, and what about that Santa rally for gold? Is it coming or not?
I don't know if the Santa rally is coming. The Santa rally might have already been here. I mean, we did trade up to 2,800, and there was no question that you were going to see a pullback. And I think we're now finding a new base, somewhere around 2,600, maybe a little bit higher than that. And I look for another rally. Will it come before the end of the year? This has been an extremely strange fourth quarter. I mean, I've been doing this for 46 years, Danny, and this is one of the slowest, quietest fourth quarters I've ever seen from a trading standpoint. Markets are pretty dull and quiet all over. But we have had a very, very nice rally, and gold is up just south of 30% on the year. And it still has a chance to run. I mean, we still have time, but you had to expect that after we had that big run up, markets were extremely overbought. They were many standard deviations away from the mean, and that a pullback was going to come. And the same goes for silver. I think we're now in a position, and certainly I would be I'm always a gold buyer, but I would be a bigger buyer now because I think that we're going to see a support level, which I think we found, and I think there's going to be some need. And remember, you've got this whole mix up with the interest rate markets, which has been total garbage. I mean, if you go back to September the 18th, when the Fed made its first 50 basis cut, and then subsequently another 25 basis cut, on September 18th, the 10-year notes were 3.4%. Today, they're 4.3. So where's the cut? Where's the cut for the American people? I believe that people are realizing that there's a lot of issues. And part of the sell-off in gold is because they're more confident with Trump in office. But I do believe that gold is going to be a possibly needed for a currency along with silver. And I think Besant is also acknowledging the fact that gold and silver are very important to the economy.
And what's interesting, there's another headline: Poland becoming the world's biggest gold buyer as Russia-Ukraine war prompts safe haven push in Eastern Europe. So central banks still buying gold. But I want to focus on that point you said. So the central banks are buying gold, but you're right. The retail investor and some people I'm speaking to feel, well, like you said, Trump's coming back in power now, and that safe haven allure of gold has become a little muted. But let's talk about what you're saying is that the existing problems just don't go away.
Listen, everybody thinks that the magic wand is coming. Do you know how much work, do you know how much he's going to be able to get done? I don't know what he's going to be able to get done. We are in such a crisis in this country, and we don't admit to it. I mean, we're in a recession. If you're in the middle, if you're making 150,000 or below, you're in a recession. If you live in New York, you can't live on 150,000 a year if you live in Manhattan. So again, I think we've got a lot of issues. I think he can deal with a lot of the issues, but the debt that we have created, and not only the debt at government level, which is over $36 trillion, but the debt at the individual level. Do you realize that, again, the numbers are not important because of inflation, but if you look at the numbers of people that have maxed out their credit cards and are paying the minimal rate, it's never been this high. So again, we can keep spending, and I'm sure retail sales, they say that Black Friday was the busiest Friday ever. But of course, remember, it was up 3.4% from last year. What's inflation up from last year? So there's a lot of things that we tend to ignore in the economy and in markets, and certainly the economists always ignore them because the economists are basically ignorant. They have no clue of how a free market really works. And I think what we're going to find out is that come January, come the first quarter, we're going to start to see a little bit of trouble in equities. These bills are going to start to come due. We're going to see some issues. And again, I think the right man is in charge. I think that we're going in the right direction, but there's going to be some pain, and there's going to be a lot of issues in the overall markets and with the economy, because there's going to have to be a lot of cuts made. And if they're going to do what they say they're going to do, which I hope is correct, there's going to be a lot of problems globally, but really right here in the United States, because there's already troubles globally as it is now.
One more point, because we know from past interviews, President-elect Trump is, he's a pro-gold guy, right? He's been supportive of some sort of return to a gold standard. He's spoken about it. And on the other hand, it's an administration that's very pro-cryptocurrency. How do you think gold will do in this ecosystem now of an administration that's, pro-Bitcoin, Bitcoin reserve, et cetera? What place will gold hold?
I think gold will maintain its same place that it always has. I mean, there's Bitcoin, which in today's world, there's a big part of our population that has no idea what Bitcoin is, right? There's a big appeal of our population that don't understand the technology of how to even buy it or how to trade it or how to get involved with it. I think that Bitcoin is an up and comer. I think that there's going to be a group of the cryptos that are going to be very, very powerful. But again, you still always want to have something that you can touch, feel, put in your safe, put in your desk, whatever, and store yourself, versus something that is kind of like out there, right? I mean, I'm a believer in Bitcoin. I'm a believer in the crypto world. I think that it is the one true free market that we see with no intervention, right? The Federal Reserve cannot intervene in Bitcoin. They can intervene in other things. Of course, you see that central banks are continuing to accumulate gold, which is telling you that they're going to continue to make the Ponzi scheme of making more dollars to satisfy a little debt while they accumulate gold and accumulate the real money, which right now is gold and still cryptocurrency. Again, I think they both or all of them have a home and a spot in a properly run free market economy, and that's the key words: is pre-market, that free market that has worked with true price discovery. Because at the end of the day, asset classes will price themselves given a free market with a true buyer and a seller without intervention from a central banking system, which is totally moronic and basically a cartel of almost like drug dealers stealing money from the innocent individual people.
Well, they who knows? Maybe this administration will just reveal the scheme now. Are you confident?
Well, I think they're going to try. I mean, listen, Ron Paul has had it right forever that we don't need a Fed. Okay, the Fed. And if you go back and look in history, I mean, the Fed has not made any changes. All they do is continue to create money. They are so far off a mandate of what they have two mandates, which is jobs and price stability. They're so far away from that with their rate cuts. And this last rate cut was not to help the individual; it was to help the banks who own the Federal Reserve. Let's remember that the Federal Reserve is a private corporation that the banks own. Okay. So the banks got a raise because they're making more money on the spread. Interest rates have not come down. Mortgage rates have not come down. So what do we have here? We have a cartel organization that was kind of swindled into this country from J.P. Morgan and the Rothschild family and Paul Warburg and the Rockefellers. And again, the United States got sold and conned on a bill of goods, which they then found out was a good way to grasp onto more money. Because if you go back to Alan Greenspan, when we came off the gold standard, he was against it until he became a member of the Federal Reserve. Then he was for it. So you do the logic, you do the math.
All right. Bubba, thank you so much for joining us this Monday. How was Thanksgiving in the Horwitz household?
It was busy. We flew my mom up, 95 years old, with my chaperone son and his girlfriend, and my daughter was in from San Diego. It was great. We had a great time. So it was all good, and hopefully your family had a great time as well. But I know the kids are back in school now, so that's always a rest too.
Yeah, well, God bless your mom, Bubba. That's awesome. And yeah, I hosted 15 people. I'm still recovering.
I hope you had help.
I know there's people watching. Oh, that's nothing. Well, it took the wind out of me, but it was beautiful. It was awesome. Anytime with family is a blessing. So
100%.
Nice
Family's what
to
it's all
see
about,
you.
kid.
And we'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate it. Always great to be on with the great Danny.
We'll bring you back. You know, our outlook's coming up, and we got to get your outlook for 2025. Already another year gone. Where does the time go? Okay, we'll see Bubba soon. We'll see all of you soon. Stay tuned to the Daniela Cambone Show here on ITM Trading. Sign up at danielacambone.com to stay on top of it all. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. We'll see you soon.